My wife told her friends at brunch. He makes less money than my ex, so I just pretend he's someone else. They laughed. I was at the next table. I paid their bill using her ex's old messages. When she saw the divorce lawyer's card. My name is Ethan Cooper, 34 years old, a security systems engineer at a tech company. My life is simple, structured, responsible. I don't make a lot of money, but I've never let my wife lack anything she genuinely needed. I'm not someone who brags, not someone who shows off, and I'm definitely not as polished as the men who charm easily or succeed spectacularly. I just try to be a decent person. And maybe that's exactly why I'm easy to underestimate. My wife, Lily, is the complete opposite of me. She's 31, works in marketing, extroverted, attention-loving, always wanting to shine. When we first met, I found her exciting, energetic, cheerful, open. But it took me a long time to realize that most of that cheerfulness came from her desire to be the center of attention, to be admired, compared favorably, and validated. We'd been married for 3 years, and I always believed that opposites could balance each other out. But over time, that contrast became a widening crack, one I could no longer mend. Lily had a very wealthy ex, something she never outright called a good quality, but constantly hinted at through glamorous stories. In the early years of our marriage, I treated it as her past. But through every comment, every comparison, every disappointed look when I couldn't buy her the luxury items she wanted, I slowly realized that her ex never truly left her mind. I tried to pretend it meant nothing, tried to overlook it, tried to understand, tried to believe that if I held on long enough, she would eventually see my real value. I have never been more wrong. That day, the day everything collapsed, was just an ordinary Sunday afternoon. I stopped by a brunch cafe near my office to pick up some document. I chose a table by the window, ordered an Americano, opened my laptop. Everything was calm, quiet, no warning of the storm coming. Until I heard Lily's voice behind me. Oh my God, you guys won't believe this. Ethan makes even less money than my ex. I have to remind myself I'm with a different person just to feel something. Laughter exploded at the table. My chest tightened as if someone had grabbed my heart with a fist. It wasn't the words, it was the way she said them. Clear, confident, amused, as if mocking me made her seem superior. I sat frozen. The sounds behind me stopped being sounds. They became sharp blades cutting into the one thing I always protected. My self-respect. This was the same woman who once cried in my arms, who told me I was the only man who made her feel safe, who said she knew she was lucky to have me. And now, in front of her friends, I was a joke. He's so gentle. I just wish he was more assertive. It feels like I married stability instead of a man. Yeah, Ethan is just too soft. Too safe. Honestly? Boring. I swear, sometimes I wish I still dated my ex. At least he was worth showing off. More laughter, louder than before. I felt myself losing control, not in the way of wanting to yell or bang the table, but in the way everything suddenly felt cold, hollow, painfully clear. I realized a few things. First, Lily never truly appreciated me. Second, she saw me as her safety net, a stable landing spot when she decided she wanted to grow up. Third, she never left her world of comparison. And fourth, our marriage had been dead for a long time. I was just too blind to see it. I set down my coffee cup. The betrayal didn't make me angry. It made me want to stand up and walk out of the life I had tried so hard to build. But before leaving, I wanted to leave one truth behind. I'm not an idiot. Not a puppet. Not a cheap accessory to be mocked. I called the waiter. Could you help me pay for the table behind me? And bring them your most expensive bottle of wine. The waiter paused, confused. Then I took out the folder from my bag. The folder containing messages between Lily and her ex that I found on our shared iPad months ago. Messages she thought I would never see. Please deliver this envelope with the wine. Yes, sir. Inside were the chat logs Lily deleted from her phone but forgot were synced on the iPad. Sometimes I miss how attentive you were. Ethan is fine. He's just the type you can easily control. If you want me back, just say the word. I had stayed quiet for a year, convincing myself it was just foolish nostalgia. But today, I had no reason left to protect her. I wrote one final line. Since you love pretending, Brunch is on him today. When the envelope was placed on their table, I watched from afar. Lily opened it. Her smile vanished instantly. Her face drained of color. Her friends stared at her, then at the envelope, then back at her, as if her entire world had detonated in front of them. She jumped up, panicked, scanning the room. Her eyes locked onto mine. Ethan, you heard everything? You misunderstood. I was just joking. Just playing around with my friends. I didn't mean. I closed my laptop and stood. No. You meant every word. Ethan. Let's go home and talk. Don't make this bigger than it is. I didn't answer. I walked out. She ran after me, but I didn't look back. I knew exactly where I was going. The attorney's office. The place I'd hesitated to go for months. The place where I had quietly explored my options, just in case, even while hoping I'd never need to. Today, that hope died. I sat across from the attorney and exhaled deeply. Are you ready? He asked. I've been ready since the moment she said she pretends I'm someone else. He nodded and handed me the paperwork. I signed. No shaking. No hesitation. And as I walked out of the building, I sent Lily one final text. Tomorrow, you'll receive another envelope. It's not wine. It's the end. I didn't regret anything. I wasn't angry. There was only one feeling left. Relief. I walked out of the attorney's office with a strange feeling, light, almost weightless, like I had finally put down a boulder I'd been forcing myself to carry for far too long. Not the lightness of victory, not the satisfaction of revenge. Just the simple feeling of finally being able to breathe properly. But the real storm hadn't even begun. Just a few minutes after I got into my car, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. 28 missed calls from Lily. 14 messages from unknown numbers, probably her friends. Even her mother called, but I didn't pick up. I drove home. My mind was eerily quiet, as if my brain had locked away every emotion so I wouldn't collapse right there in the car. When I arrived, Lily was already standing at the door. Her eyes were swollen, hair messy, her face so frantic that it took me a moment to recognize her. Ethan, you can't do this. I was just joking. I didn't think you heard me. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I walked past her and opened the door. She followed behind me, her voice trembling. Don't be silent like this. It scares me. Ethan, we can talk like a married couple. I set my keys on the table, took off my jacket. She stood behind me, hands shaking. Do you still love me? If you love me, don't leave me like this. I just had a stupid moment. I didn't think you would hear it. I turned around and looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time in months. I love you, Lily. But I love my self-respect more. She broke down, stunned. I apologized already. I'll never say those things again. I'll do whatever you want. I shook my head. What I need, you never had. What? She screamed, desperate. Honesty. Lily collapsed onto a chair, covering her face as she cried. But I couldn't soften anymore. What I heard at the cafe wasn't a slip of the tongue, it was who she really was. And that truth was toxic enough to kill the best parts of me. For the next few hours, Lily cycled through begging, panic, explanations, and finally anger. You're heartless. Just because of a few sentences, you want a divorce. Other couples are way worse. Those sentences showed me exactly what you think of me, I replied. I was just exaggerating for fun. My friends like that kind of talk. I had to go along with them. You had to go along with them to the point of humiliating your husband? She choked, unable to answer. I continued packing. Every item I placed in the suitcase felt like sealing another memory, another nail in the coffin of this marriage. Lily grabbed my arm, tears streaming. Ethan, please. I swear I'll change. We can go to counseling. I'll stop seeing those friends. Lily. You had chances. So many chances. But you chose to belittle me. She screamed. Because you're too gentle. You never show emotion. I wanted you to be stronger. I wanted to be proud of you. I cut her off. And because I didn't live up to your expectations, you chose to mock me in front of others? That's your way of wanting me to be stronger? Lily's lips trembled. She had no defense left. When I reached for a document folder in the drawer, she snatched it. Don't take that. We don't need to make this so serious. I pulled out another folder, the one containing printed copies of the old messages between her and her ex, prepared for the attorney. She saw it and went pale. You printed that? You saw everything. Since a year ago, I said. Her voice cracked. Then why didn't you say anything? I hoped it was just a stupid past mistake. I trusted you. I believed you chose me because you loved me. Lily sobbed like a child who had lost a toy. I do love you. I really do. Sometimes I compare. I don't mean to. I looked at her, not angry anymore, just tired. Lily, you love the idea of being above others. You love being admired. You love your past because it makes you feel valuable. But you don't love me the way I loved you. She stood frozen, shoulders shaking. About an hour later, she switched tactic. She cleaned the dining table, made drinks, put on soft music, things she hadn't done in months. Ethan, eat something, okay? I made your favorite. Let's talk like adults. I just looked at her. She came closer, placing her hand on my chest. Remember when we first started dating? You said just having me beside you was enough. And now you're leaving me over a few stupid words. I gently removed her hand. Those stupid words told me exactly what you really think. Her expression collapsed, like I had just extinguished her last hope. I was about to leave for the temporary apartment I rented. As I rolled my suitcase to the door, Lily screamed, "No! You can't leave. You don't understand." I said those things because my friends always brag about their exes. I didn't want to look like I married down. I turned around. You said it for image? Because I hate feeling like I married someone who earns less than my ex. Lily shouted, then immediately covered her mouth, as if she had accidentally exposed the truth she meant to bury forever. The room went completely silent. I stared at her for a long, long moment. Thank you for being honest, I said. Sometimes a single slip reveals more truth than 100 explanations. Lily dropped to the floor, sobbing. I didn't mean it. I just hate being judged. I exhaled quietly. I'm afraid too, Lily. Afraid of what? She whispered. Afraid of spending my whole life with someone ashamed of her own husband. Lily cried harder, but this time, not because she was losing me. She cried because she was losing the image she tried so hard to maintain. I pulled my suitcase toward the door again. Lily threw herself around my legs. Ethan, don't go. Please. I swear I'll change. I'll stop seeing my friends. I'll stop comparing. I'll try to be a good wife. I crouched down and gently removed her arms. Lily. People only change when they realize their mistake, not when they fear the consequences. She froze, staring at me like her world had collapsed. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Her voice echoed down the hallway, screaming my name. Long, desperate, painful. But I didn't turn back. Not once. Because for the first time in years, I chose myself. I walked out of the home we once shared without looking back. The door closing behind me sounded like a period, firm, clean, final. I didn't know what Lily did afterward. I didn't know how long she sat on the floor after I left. And for the first time in months, I didn't force myself to imagine it so I could feel sorry for her. I had spent our entire marriage making excuses for her, convincing myself that I had to understand, had to empathize, had to endure. But limits exist, and once they're crossed, no one comes back whole. That night, I arrived at the small apartment I had rented temporarily. Just a bed, a table, a few boxes, and enough space to breathe. I lay down on the mattress, stared at the blank ceiling, and realized I didn't feel heavy anymore. Just tired. The kind of tired that comes from release, like I had been running a marathon for years and finally stopped. I slept deeply, without dreams, without waking up midnight. The first time in a very long time. Day 2. Lily receives the envelope the next morning. The attorney's office texted me. Documents delivered. She has received them. I sat in the cafe downstairs, holding a hot Americano, watching people walk by. Not long after, my phone buzzed. Lily. I didn't answer. Then messages began flooding in. You can't do this. Ethan, please answer me. We need to talk. I can fix this. You're ruining my life. The last line made me let out a small laugh. Not bitter, not cruel, just exhausted. I didn't ruin her life. She did that with her own hand. Day 3. The aftershocks. Lily didn't just call me. She called my mother, our mutual friends, my coworkers, even my manager. All to send out one message. Ethan misunderstood. I was only joking. But what happened at brunch had spread too fast. One of her friends, someone who witnessed the whole thing, told her husband, and from there the story traveled unchecked. Turns out, not everyone supported how Lily behaved. Many in her friend group were already uncomfortable with how she constantly used her personal life to brag. Lily lost face, lost credibility, and lost her closest friends. One of them even messaged me, "I'm sorry for laughing that day." But Lily said it with real contempt. She went too far. I replied simply, "It's all right. Thank you for being honest." Day 5. Heavier truths come out. I went to see the attorney to discuss the next step. He said, "We reviewed some of the old messages. It's possible she was still talking to her ex a few months ago." I wasn't surprised. I just felt affirmed. He showed me some cloud backups Lily forgot to disable. In them, there were messages like, "If things get bad, would you consider giving me another chance? Ethan is fine, but you're different. Sometimes I feel like I married the wrong person." I read each line without pain, without anger. Because by this point, I had already detached myself from the marriage. Lily keeps trying to see me. One afternoon, Lily waited outside my office gate. Light rain fell, her hair wet, eyes swollen, voice shaking. "Ethan, please, just once. I need to talk to you." I looked at her for a long moment, then said softly, "Lily, we already talked. I can't lose you. I was wrong. I was stupid. I just didn't want people to laugh at me. I hate being judged." I closed my eyes for a second. "You were more afraid of being judged than of hurting your own husband. Do you understand that?" Lily froze, tears blending with the rain. "You really can't forgive me?" "It's not that I can't. It's that I don't want to." And that was the last time I saw her cry in front of me. In the following weeks, things got worse for her. Far worse than I expected. 1. Her close friends turned their backs. They didn't want to be dragged into drama. Some even said, "You liked belittling your husband to show off. What's there to show off now?" 2. Lily's family blamed her. Her mother called me, voice heavy. "Ethan, I'm sorry my daughter treated you so poorly." It was the first time I heard anyone in her family acknowledge it. 3. Her ex cut ties completely. I received an email from him. "I don't want any involvement in this." She lied to me too. My apologies. Whatever Lily told him, she lost her last backup plan. 4. Lily's workplace found out. Somehow the story spread. Coworkers started looking at her like she was two-faced. She took several days off. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding myself. I went to the gym, ate better, focused on work. I enrolled in a new training program at the company. I was invited onto a major project team, one that would significantly increase my income in the next 6 months. A friend joked, "Divorce made you level up, huh?" I just smiled. But it was true. No more pressure to prove my worth. No more comparisons. No more tiptoeing around someone who could break me with a single sentence. For the first time, I was living for myself. 3 months later, the court summoned us to sign the papers. Lily sat a few seats away. She had lost weight. Oversized coat, hollow eyes staring at the floor. When she signed, her hands shook so much the attorney had to hold the paper. When it was over, Lily approached me. "Ethan, I know it's too late, but I want to say, I'm sorry. Truly." I looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "I accept your apology. But we can't go back." She teared up, but didn't try to grab my hand. For the first time, she accepted reality. "Be well," I said. She bit her lip, nodded. "You too." We walked out of the courthouse and went in opposite directions. No anger. No resentment. No blame. Just an ending, exact and complete. 6 months later, I had a new apartment, a better job, a clear promotion path. I met new people, became more open. The wound no longer hurt. It simply reminded me that I had lived true to myself. One evening, sitting on my balcony overlooking the city, I received a message from an unknown number. "Thank you for giving me a chance, even though I lost it. I hope you find someone who truly values you." I read it, smiled faintly, and set my phone down. I didn't reply. Sometimes, silence is the right ending. I used to think love meant fighting with everything you had to keep someone from leaving. Now I understand. Love is also knowing when to let go. Self-respect is not selfishness. Kindness is not a weakness to be exploited. And dignity is not something you should sacrifice to save a toxic marriage. I have no regrets. Only one, that I didn't leave sooner.